Get your piping hot tech news right here, right now with me, Chiron, and thank you for watching. Our top story, Dumpy Trump has been in social media exile as many companies have banned him from their platforms, while AP News is saying that it's this Wednesday when he finds out what's going to happen. Well, at least for Facebook, when their quasi-independent oversight board says it's going to announce its ruling on the former president's case. And now here's that update. Looks like Trump lost. However, our inside scoop shows a private backdoor meeting between CEO Mark Zuckerberg and the former president as they tried to work out a deal.
Oh, come on. No. It'll be huge. No. Come on, please. No.
Okay, so after Bill Gates announced his divorce, a bunch of Reddit users on the GME, that's the GameStop subreddit, found an almost 2-month-old post by user Jaboom3 that linked a spike in borrowed GameStop shares to the possibility that it was because billionaires were preparing for their divorces. Apparently, this was first observed by MarketWatch. Then there's another post saying that there were GameStop shares that were borrowed from exchange-traded funds, ETFs, in the pre-market. This was seen as hedge funds trying to short the stock versus individual investors who thought it was undervalued. So Jaboom3 said, I think they are just buying time to secure their personal assets, moving them to offshore, or divorcees divorcing their wives and putting money in their name. Tricks like that. Not only did Reddit user credit Jaboom3 with predicting the Gates divorce, but they also think that maybe some rich short sellers of GameStop are fighting the squeeze to protect their assets from the possibility of a market implosion. Okay, this is weird and it's hard to wrap your head around, so let me see if I can take a stab at it. See, sometimes rich guys know the divorce might be coming, and so sometimes they try to see if they can hide their cash in secret places. So when they have to give up like 50% in the divorce, it's like, oh, the money's not here, see? Well, your money's at Joe's house, and that's right next door to your house, and the Kennedy's house, and Mrs. Bacon's house, and 100 other places. When, in reality, it's just parked somewhere safe and less traceable. So what happened was, this Jaboom3 user seems to have thought, and I'm only guessing, something along the lines of, hey, maybe a bunch of rich guys think parking their money and shorting GameStop would be a sure thing. So even if they don't make a bunch of money, even if they lose a little bit of money, it's going to be way less than the half they'd be losing in their divorce. You know, I wish we could just harness the creative powers of those rich guys in avoiding divorces, spousal and child support, and use it instead to, I don't know, cure cancer. But hey, maybe I'm just lacking one of those fancy political science degrees that would explain all this. All this data collection, it can be a little overwhelming, and we'll get into it in a moment. But for now, it's also important to know that sometimes it's a tool that individuals can use themselves. And that's exactly what Global News is reporting on, where an Ontario man takes his car to the dealership and they have to, well, take it on a joyride, apparently. Frank Statti needed his reverse camera fixed, so he took it into the Nissan dealership. Then at night, using his insurance app, he tracked his car going 148 kilometers per hour on the 401. And the 401 is even busier than like LA. Seriously, look it up. He thought, hey, it's stolen, but it turns out someone at the shop decided to take it for a spin, a 90-kilometer long one. Not only did they not replace the gas they used, the camera still isn't working properly. When Global News contacted Nissan Canada about the incident, the manufacturer said Statti's car was not used for personal travel. By the dealership's employee? Right. Apparently you need to drive at almost 50% over the speed limit to test out car rear cameras. Wow. You'd think they'd just take this as a marketing opportunity to do the right thing and maybe have a feel-good story about their brand go viral. But instead, I'm talking about how I'll never buy a Nissan car, nor will I ever buy stock in their company. So good job, Nissan marketing. All right. Turns out many millennials are interested in cryptocurrency, not only for investing, but as payment options, as financemagnate.com reports from the released Mastercard survey. See, the thing that makes this cool is that traditionally, you buy something like stock, hold it, and then you sell it when you want the money. But that's not very fast. You got to do it chunks at the time. It's a pain in the butt. So it doesn't work as a payment option. But here's the cool part. Holding something like Bitcoin or Ethereum or some other cryptocurrency and then being able to spend it whenever you want is like the best of both worlds. It would be like holding shares in a company, but then you can spend little portions of it when you need the money. Now, traditionally, rich people would use this by having a fat credit card for their spending, and then they'd potentially sell any shares that they need at the end of the month to cover the cost. But this is fast, easy, and granular, and that means the average person can take advantage of both saving and spending in a way that's traditionally only been available to the wealthy. It's complicated, but it's also super exciting. Pandora, one of the world's largest jewelers, is not selling diamonds anymore, at least not the kind that you mine in the ground. They are only selling artificial and lab-grown diamonds. No more mined diamonds. They said the firm was pursuing it because it's the right thing to do. Well, I'm sure it's a response to people buying less diamonds, since I know personally a lot of people around me say things like, I don't want a diamond ring because I've read so many horrible stories about the industry. This is an example of how companies can be persuaded and pressured to do the right thing when people refuse to spend their money on a company or even an industry that's doing the wrong thing. Way to go. Backblaze has released their quarterly and lifetime failure rates for their hard drives and solid state drives. This is cool because you can compare the failure statistics from major drive manufacturers and see how they perform in a high-use server farm type of environment. Check it out. As always, links are in the description. And now it's time for retro news. The New Stack is reporting that software developer Arthur O'Dwyer tracked down the code for a beloved 41-year-old text adventure game called Castle Quest. Now, this is a fun and complex story, so I'll try to sum her up quickly, although I could do a whole video about just this. Okay, so originally, Castle Quest was this game that was developed on the PDP, so you'd play it over terminals and stuff over the network. Then these Genie guys, Genie was an online service like AOL, like pre-internet kind of stuff. They went and they programmed the game to work on their system. Then when this guy was 11, he had Genie and he played it and loved it. But here's the thing, Genie's an online thing, you couldn't download the game. So eventually as an adult, he got in touch with the programmer of the Genie port to that system, and they went and found the old copyright registration, and they didn't know what was in it. So when they pulled it from the government, they found it was a scanned-in copy of the original source code. So this guy spent like a bleary-eyed, 3-day crazy coding fest of typing up the old software and fixing bugs, and he got it working. So now he's made it available online and anyone can download it and play it as long as they can get an old Fortran interpreter up and running. So that's super cool. I love these kinds of stories. They really do deserve a whole episode. Our final story, something that has been all over the news feeds, is Signal, a communications app used to let people securely talk to each other, knowing that not only are their conversations safe, but also the company stores as little data as possible about the calls. In fact, it has stood the test of time, as law enforcement requests have resulted in them turning over what's nearly useless data. Recently, they decided to help educate people on how much data really is being collected about them through an incredibly brilliant marketing plan. I love this. They took out ads which revealed how much they knew about the person seeing the ad for some really creepy results. Here, let me read these examples to you here. You got this ad because you're a teacher, but more importantly, you're a Leo and single. This ad used your location to see you're in Moscow. You like to support sketch comedy, and this ad thinks you do drag. And look, I'll do this one here. This one's great. You got this ad because you're a GP with a master's in art history, also divorced. This ad used your location to see you're in London. Your online activity shows that you've been getting into boxing, and you're probably getting there on your new motorcycle. Now, imagine if that was you. These ads ran on Instagram, well, at least until parent company Facebook banned Signal from using their ad services. Facebook also owns WhatsApp, and that company and its product do not protect you in the ways that Signal does. Privacy is important, but most people trade privacy for free products and services. In fact, there usually isn't any way or any option to do otherwise. Most free apps don't have a paid option where no data is collected. So if you want to use, for example, Facebook, guess what? You've got two options: having a ton of data collected about you or missing out on Facebook. Sounds pretty good. The thing about this Signal ad that's so brilliant is that it draws attention to just how much these companies already know about you. Now, you might be thinking, okay, fine, it's creepy and it's bad, but who cares? Big deal. I'm not sharing anything about myself that I don't think is a big deal anyway. And okay, maybe that's all right. But what about kids? Turns out 60% of school apps are sharing data about your kids with other people. This past 2020 has been unprecedented. And of course, there's been a lot of at-home learning, but that has also seen a lot of digital tools being used, and they are gobbling up data at unprecedented rates. This article from Gizmodo explores the details. However, these companies not only suck up everything they can about everyone they can, they've also had massive breaches and apparently handle personal info with way less care than they should. Read more in the description below. But however much you think they know about you and your kids today, let's take a little look back. In 2012, Forbes had a piece about how Target figured out a teen girl was pregnant even before her dad knew about it. When you go online, you search for things. You go to the store, you buy things. And companies suck up all this data, and then they use all the mountains of data to predict things about you based on how you compare to other people. So what happens when there is this girl making choices similar to other people who are pregnant? Well, of course, they then sent her a bunch of relevant coupons like diapers, baby stuff, etc. The dad saw it, lost his mind, but then found out she was in fact pregnant. So here we see that just doing normal things can leak information that can hint all kinds of facts about you. But let's go back a little further. To way back when people still used AOL and they published what people searched for. They didn't publish names, just numbers that could be used to link searches to a particular unique identifier per person. So a journalist did a bunch of digging, and based solely on this person searching AOL for stuff like local shops, medical problems, etc., he was able to figure out who it was. This article was published in the New York Times in 2006. So even then, people were already able to learn a lot about you based solely on what you search for. Was that far back enough? Well, we can go back even further, almost 100 years further. Back to 1938, through this 2001 academic article titled "The Dark Side of Numbers: The Roles of Population Data Systems in Human Rights Abuses." Here's the gist of the important bit. Back before World War II, the Netherlands government established a comprehensive population registration to follow people from cradle to grave. They wanted to be able to do things like know what people's religion was, so they could, for example, give them a proper burial. It seems innocuous and well-intentioned, and it was, except for one small problem. When the Nazis occupied them, they were looking for people of Jewish faith in order to further their agenda of, well, the Holocaust. A genocide. And of course, lo and behold, they found this convenient government database listing everyone's religion. And guess what? I'll quote the article directly. Dutch Jews had the highest death rate, 73%, of Jews residing in any occupied Western European country. That's why this is important, because having this data about everyone that's accessible to who knows who, that can be used for marketing or genocide, is not a good thing. Companies like Google, Facebook, and others are sitting and potentially selling piles of data about me and you. And who knows what could happen with it now or in the future. But hey, at least the largest and most powerful democracy in the world didn't recently have a potential insurrection where a bunch of potentially white supremacist people tried to take over a government building, right? That didn't happen. So we're good, right? Does this mean we all need to give up technology and live off the land and off the grid? I'm not suggesting that. But it's important that we all understand both what's happening now and the larger historical context of it, so that when companies lobby the government to do things like even more invasive data collection, that we know when our ears should perk up and we should start pushing back against these companies and any potential new powers they are trying to claw and squeeze out of our government. Well, that was dark. Maybe I should do an episode all about Star Wars retro video games so we can forget about this dark, technological, dystopian future we are all slipping into in a nice, soft, warm, avoidant blanket of video game noises. Pew, 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 pew. In any case, that's everything for today. Have a good one, and thank you for watching. Happy belated May the 4th. And now I'm going to play with my toys.
Haha, I am your dad. No, you're not. I am the guy that was on Cloud City. I'm that robot that, what's his name, Mando killed in that show. Brr, may the Schwartz be with you. Woo, Spaceballs.
All right.